Before we dive into the story of Xavier Harkonnen, here's your official spoiler warning. This video will cover key events from DUNE, the Betrayal Jihad, DUNE, the Machine Crusade, DUNE, the Battle of Corrin, and Sandworms of DUNE. If you haven't read these books yet and want to avoid spoilers, now's your chance to hit pause, grab the books, and come back later. Still here? Great. Let's explore the rise and fall of one of the most misunderstood figures in the DUNE universe. Above all, I'm a man of honor. This is how I wish to be remembered. Bold words, right? You can almost hear the noble intent dripping from them. Too bad history didn't get the memo. Instead, it slapped an asterisk on Xavier Harkonnen's honor and filed it under traitor. Life isn't simple, especially when you're caught between intergalactic wars, shady political allies, and a family name that seems destined to be dragged through the mud for millennia. Xavier's story is one of heroism and disaster, bravery and betrayal. His decisions shaped the course of human history, even as his reputation sank like a rock in the cosmic ocean. How does a man who fought to save humanity from killer robots end up remembered as its greatest villain? That's what we're here to uncover: the rise, the fall, and the messy legacy of Xavier Harkonnen. This is the tale of a man who nuked Earth to save it, took down a corrupt leader, and somehow still wound up as the galaxy's eternal scapegoat. Hero? Villain? Or just the most misunderstood military commander of all time? Let's find out. Xavier Harkonnen didn't exactly have a storybook childhood. He was born into wealth and power on Salusa Secundus, the shining jewel of the League of Nobles. But at the age of 6, tragedy struck. His parents were killed in a thinking machine attack, leaving young Xavier an orphan in a galaxy teetering on the edge of chaos. You know, of course, that if two butlers say a thing, it's bound to be true. That's the world Xavier grew up in, a world where the butler's word wasn't just law, it was fact. When the ruling family of the League adopted him, they didn't just give him a home. They handed him a front row seat to the galaxy's biggest stage. If being raised by the butlers sounds like a privilege, it was. But it came with strings attached. Power, influence, and expectation were baked into every lesson they taught. Losing your family to robots at 6? That's a lot for any kid. Getting adopted into a political powerhouse that basically runs the galaxy? That's a crash course in survival. Xavier didn't just adapt, he thrived. He grew up with a clear sense of loyalty to the League and an even clearer understanding of the stakes in the war against the thinking machines. But for all the butler polish, there was something uniquely Xavier about him. Where others saw politics as a tool for control, he saw it as a way to serve. That belief in humanity's potential would carry him far, straight into the heart of the Butlerian Jihad. By the time Xavier Harkonnen turned 19, he was already on the path to becoming a legend. The League of Nobles gave him a military commission, and he wasted no time proving he had what it took to lead. His defining moment came during the First Battle of Zimia, a chaotic clash against the forces of Omnius, the rogue AI pulling the strings of the thinking machines. The battle was a disaster waiting to happen. The Salisan militia, the League's frontline defenders, were shattered, leaderless, and on the brink of collapse. Xavier stepped in, rallied the troops, and pulled off a victory so unexpected that it became the stuff of legends. There are countless ways to die. The worst is to fade away without purpose. Purpose was something Xavier never lacked. That day, he didn't just secure a win, he earned the respect of soldiers and politicians alike. He also paid a steep price. The toxic conditions on the battlefield permanently damaged his lungs, forcing him to rely on Tulaxa-supplied replacements. It was a sobering reminder of what victory could cost. His actions at Zimia earned him a promotion to Segundo, a step closer to commanding the army of the Jihad. More importantly, it cemented his reputation as a soldier who wouldn't quit, no matter the odds. But Xavier wasn't just a fighter. He believed in the cause, in humanity's ability to reclaim its future from the machines. This sense of duty drove him through countless battles and close calls. It also began to set him apart. Where others sought glory or survival, Xavier sought purpose. The Jihad wasn't just a war to him. It was a fight for the very soul of humanity. And with every victory, his legend grew. Xavier Harkonnen's rise through the ranks wasn't just about winning battles, it was about the alliances he built along the way. One of the most important was his partnership with Vorian Atreides, the son of the Kimek general Agamemnon, who had defected to humanity's side. If Xavier was the unshakable rock of the Jihad, Vorian was its blazing comet, bold, unpredictable, and impossible to ignore. The two made an unlikely pair. Xavier, with his steady hand and disciplined strategies, was a contrast to Vorian's risk-taking and flair for theatrics. But together, they were unstoppable. Whether it was retaking key planets or pushing back the thinking machines, their combined leadership turned the tide in countless battles. Their friendship was forged in the fires of war, For a time, it seemed like nothing could break their bond. Together, they commanded humanity's greatest armies and delivered victories that gave hope to a galaxy on the brink of despair. But as any historian or casual observer of human drama could tell you, no alliance is perfect. Xavier's grounded approach sometimes clashed with Vorian's more impulsive decisions, and the cracks in their friendship would widen as the war dragged on. For now, though, they were humanity's best hope. Xavier's honor and dedication balanced Vorian's charisma and boldness. They were the Jihad's brightest stars, burning fiercely against the darkness of the thinking machines. But as we'll see, even the brightest stars can fall. If Xavier Harkonnen's career was defined by honor, it was also tested by betrayal. As Primero in the army of the Jihad, he found himself face to face with the darker side of humanity. It wasn't the thinking machines that pushed him to his breaking point, it was the man leading the fight against them, Grand Patriarch Iblis Ginjo. Ginjo was a master manipulator, a charismatic leader who could rally crowds with ease. But beneath the speeches and grand promises, he had secrets, horrible ones. While the Jihad raged on, Ginjo was quietly working with the Tuluaksa, the galaxy's notorious organ traders. Most histories are written by the winners of conflicts, but those written by the losers, if they survive, are often more interesting. Unfortunately for Xavier, this was a story he wouldn't live to write. While visiting Tlulax on what should have been a routine embassy mission, Xavier uncovered the truth. The Tulaxa weren't just supplying organs for injured soldiers, they were farming them, harvesting parts from captured humans to fuel the war effort. Worse, some of the thinking machine attacks that seemed random, they were staged by the Tulaxa under Ginjo's orders to maintain control over the League. It was a betrayal of everything Xavier believed in. The Jihad wasn't just a war for survival, it was a moral stand against the soulless thinking machines. To discover that their leader was just as soulless as the enemy, that was too much to bear. Xavier made his choice. He confronted Ginjo and killed him, knowing full well what it would cost. The official story, Ginjo became a martyr. His allies twisted the truth, painting Xavier as a traitor who betrayed the Jihad's greatest leader. Xavier didn't die in battle against the machines. Instead, he set his transport ship on a collision course with a star, ensuring Ginjo's schemes would die with him. It was a final act of defiance, one that should have cleared his name. Instead, it sealed his fate as history's scapegoat. Here's the thing about history. It doesn't care who was right. It cares who's loudest, and unfortunately, for Xavier Harkonnen, that wasn't him. After his death, Ginjo's pals worked overtime spinning their version of events. They turned the corrupt Grand Patriarch into a martyr, a shining symbol of sacrifice. Meanwhile, Xavier got the villain edit, branded a traitor who betrayed humanity's greatest hero. The Harkonnen name, once a beacon of honor, was dragged through the mud so hard it practically became dirt. His descendants? They were so done with the bad PR that they ditched the Harkonnen name entirely and rebranded as Butler. But no amount of name-changing could erase the stain history had slapped on Xavier's legacy. The feud between House Atreides and House Harkonnen was an ancient vendetta which began during the Battle of Corran and ended 10,000 years later due to the annihilation of the Harkonnens on Arrakis. And here's where it gets weird. Despite the galaxy piling on Xavier, his bloodline didn't just survive, it thrived. His descendants became the foundation of House Carino, the dynasty that ruled humanity's golden age. You know, the Padishah emperors. Yeah, those guys. Every crown, every throne, it all came from Xavier's so-called disgraced lineage. And the Atreides? Oh, they couldn't escape him either. The infamous Atreides-Harkonnen feud that shaped galactic history. It didn't start because of Xavier's so-called betrayal. It started because people bought into Ginjo's lies. History's ironic like that. Here's the kicker. The guy the galaxy hated for millennia? His bloodline produced heroes, emperors, and even the god emperor Leto II himself. Turns out Xavier Harkonnen wasn't just a scapegoat. He was the backbone of human history, so yeah, call him a traitor if you want, but make sure you say it with a little respect. You'd think Xavier Harkonnen's story ended with his tragic death and millennia of historical slander, but nope. Fast forward 15,000 years, and the galaxy decided to give him another shot, or at least a copy of him. On board the no-ship Ithaca, the Bene Gesserit were busy with their usual brand of weird science. Led by Shiana, they were resurrecting key historical figures as Golas, genetic clones with restored memories, to help fight an incoming threat. And who's on the short list? None other than Xavier Harkonnen, because nothing says we're desperate, like trying to fix history's most misunderstood scapegoat. Of course, this Gola project wasn't all smooth sailing. Serena Butler, Xavier's love and one of the galaxy's greatest martyrs, was also on the cloning roster. Add to that the ever-creepy face dancers who decided to sabotage everything, and you've got a recipe for disaster. Before Xavier or Serena could even take their first breath as Golas, the enhanced face dancers killed them. Just like that, the chance to rewrite history, or at least give Xavier some long overdue vindication, was snuffed out. So yeah, humanity tried to bring Xavier back. It just didn't go as planned. His legacy stayed in the past where it was twisted, misunderstood, and apparently untouchable. Even in death, Xavier Harkonnen remained the galaxy's greatest what if. How will I be remembered by my children? This is the true measure of a man. Xavier Harkonnen wanted to be remembered as a man of honor, someone who stood for humanity even when the odds and history were against him. And for a while, he was. His bravery helped turn the tide of the Butlerian Jihad. His sacrifices saved lives, even when it cost him everything. But history doesn't care about nuance. It slapped the word traitor next to his name and left it there for generations. His children knew the truth, but the galaxy didn't. And maybe that's the real tragedy. Xavier didn't just fight thinking machines. He fought for humanity's soul, and for the right to be remembered as more than just a villain in someone else's story. Still, in a galaxy that thrives on chaos and irony, Xavier's legacy endured in ways no one expected. His bloodline shaped the fate of humanity, from emperors to god-kings to rebels. Maybe he wasn't remembered the way he wanted, but his impact is undeniable. So how should we remember him? As a hero? A villain? Maybe the true measure of Xavier Harkonnen isn't in the labels history gave him, but in the fight he refused to give up. Honor isn't about how others see you, it's about staying true to yourself, no matter how loud the galaxy screams otherwise. And in that way, Xavier Harkonnen lived and died a man of honor. And that's the story of Xavier Harkonnen, the hero who saved humanity, nuked Earth, and somehow ended up as the galaxy's eternal scapegoat. What do you think? Was Xavier a misunderstood champion, a tragic antihero, or just a guy who got dealt the worst hand in history? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if you enjoyed this deep dive into the Duneverse, and don't forget to subscribe for more tales of betrayal, heroism, and intergalactic drama. After all, if we've learned anything from Xavier, it's that history is messy, and there's always more to the story.